Hello, dear fools. Welcome to this episode of Mystery Cast right here on Tales of Earth, a show that we live stream every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/comicstorian. If you want to support us, you can follow, subscribe, donate, however you want to do that. You can also follow us at Tales of Earth on YouTube. Don't forget to, when you hit subscribe, don't forget to hit that bell icon so you get notified when we upload a new video. You can also support us by going over to patreon.com/comicstorian, as well as following the links below where you can get some sweet, sweet Tales of Earth merch, like t-shirts and stuff. Like, we should have like candy bars, now that I think about it. We should do Tales of Earth gum, candy bars, customized M&Ms.
I feel like the Illuminati candy bar would have peanut butter and
caramel
conspiracies within it.
And a mystery flavor. There'd be like a mystery flavor.
Alien nougat.
I do want to I'll tag in as well and say that this episode is also sponsored by G Fuel, where if you use the code COMICS at checkout, you do save 10%. And that also is another way to help us out.
Thank you, Dan. That was very concise. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. All right, so I have a question for you. Why do you think we have not communicated with extraterrestrials yet? And on top of that question,
we haven't. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Where do you think they are? What's the holdup, basically?
Iowa.
What do you think the holdup is?
They're in Iowa. Love it.
They're in Iowa.
They landed and they were like, no one's here. This is really boring. Yeah, and they're like, well, let's just stay here. Yeah, that sounds nice.
I can imagine them arguing. They like land, like, okay, where are we? Well, over there I see grassland. Grassland? Grassland. Oh, and look, more grassland. Glorp you. We're leaving.
Just leave.
Glorp this. Glorp this planet. What a piece of glorp.
Oh.
All right, so the question is, why haven't we spoken to them yet or made contact?
Yeah. Essentially, yes, exactly. Why haven't we made contact? What's the holdup? Why isn't this like public knowledge? What's going on? What do you got? What are some of your theories?
I just think they don't know English. So they're like, I have no idea what these guys are doing. They're just making random bark and whine sounds. I mean, they probably can't understand what we're saying.
You got to assume, though, if they can travel the universe, they would be able to translate.
I mean, you would think so. But you would also, if they have never been here, they are never been exposed to our language to have an understanding of how to translate. I mean, we could be considered a dead language.
What was that?
Like, we could be considered a dead language, kind of like Latin. Like, we know exactly like how it's used
anymore. What are they doing?
You guys still use your tongues? What is this?
No one could go to like an Egyptian tomb and like look at all the signs and go, "Oh yes, I can speak this fluently."
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And that's how they probably look at English and look at humanity.
I mean, it's possible.
Well, we did.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Well, my theory would be that same as I think I've said it a couple times, because they are. There's the ideas that they have been observing us and abducting people and probing and whatnot. I would say, based on I agree. If they have visited us and observed us, they just probably are like, let's give it a couple more decades or centuries. They're still trying to blow each other up.
Maybe all this pandemic and like the apocalypse is them going, all right, let's see if they can handle the rest of the universe. Let's see how they handle a new disease, murder hornets, man-bear
pigs.
So what you're saying, Dan, is the extraterrestrials gave us these things?
Yes, this is a test.
Oh, okay.
Like everyone originally thought it was, you have to discover light speed. No, it was actually you have to be able to handle all these different things, because if you can't handle a disease that originates from your own planet, how are you going to handle a disease that originates from another planet?
Now, there's actually a theory on that. One theory is that we can't get sick from an alien virus because viruses usually evolve with the biological life forms on their planet.
Yeah.
Yes. And so even if we went to another planet, we wouldn't pick up any of their viruses because the virus literally wouldn't know what to do with us. So that's a theory.
I like this image of a confused virus.
Where am I? What is this? Is that
I do get that.
Cell?
First off, War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds? Is that the one?
War of the Worlds. Yep.
Yeah, War of the Worlds.
Martians show up and
well
then they basically get the common cold.
And they die. Technically, while I can understand how that could be thought of, we got to also remember we're humans and we still get diseases from animals that have evolved when it was ingested or something like that by a human.
But we've co-evolved on the same planet, and we have very similar chemical structures. Like we have very similar biological structures. That's kind of the theory. It's like you pick up an alien virus that has evolved on a planet where the life forms are maybe they're not carbon based, maybe they're silicon based, and then the virus literally can't do anything because it's not evolved with your chemistry. Does that make sense?
I could see that.
Yeah.
I wonder if I was gonna say, I wonder if when we terraform Mars, whether or not if there's a long enough period of time where those that are on the terraformed Mars can no longer get illnesses based on Earth.
Super Martians.
Exactly.
You've never heard of super? No, I'm just kidding. You've never heard of Super Martians. Also, I can't wait for the day when you meet another human being who was born and raised on Mars. They're a Martian. Like, how cool would that be?
Yeah.
Like, well, Mom and Dad, I met a girl. She's really sweet. She is a Martian. I'm just...
They're like, Martians? What part of Mars?
What part of Mars? The dingy part? The old part? Yeah.
Are we talking like the original colonies part? Because those people are just not good people.
The radiation really got to them.
They're from the wrong side of the space tracks.
Wrong side of the launching pad. I don't know.
There we go. That would work.
I like it.
From the wrong side of the launching pad. I can imagine on this whole virus thing, like a human being landing on an alien planet. Let's say there's some intelligent life. Like, no, don't shake their hands. We don't know what they have. We could get sick. He's like, I'm a scientist. I can't get sick from an alien virus. Shakes their hands and
Instantly
dies from an alien virus. Instantly dies. Like, oh, okay. Well, turns out we don't know everything. And then his last words will be, Dan was right.
Dad, never tell Dan, but he was right.
Tell Dan. All right, so this article comes from futurism.com. We're actually going to go through a few different websites here. This is kind of how I used to approach things, where I'd actually do the research. And so this first one is, where is alien life? 6 of the top theories. Aliens might be out there, or perhaps they might not, as Dan would put it. Or maybe not.
Or maybe not.
Listen, they're either there or they're not. This is about a 50-50 shot.
We have accomplished a lot. Actually, this was written by Victor Tangerman in 2017. We have accomplished a lot in our relatively short time on Earth. We've sent humans to the moon and to live in space, developed massive and sophisticated telescopes to see the farthest reaches of the cosmos, and even rocketed over to Mars and probes to the edge of our solar system and beyond, actually. However, a number of organizations have taken humanity's voyage into the final frontier a step farther. NASA, the European Space Agency, and the research collective behind the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, SETI, have been working tirelessly to find out if we are alone once and for all. Already a number of projects exist that scan the stars for signs of intelligent life, and despite the fact that many of them have been looking to the skies for decades, we have yet to make contact, and that's a bit of a problem. First question. Okay, I think the first problem here is we're using radio waves as our primary method of contact. They may not be using radio waves.
Also true.
They like, what if warp speed or warp drive, traveling faster than light, is kind of the standard in our minds, but what if for them it's the ability to manipulate subspace or something, to communicate via subspace? Like, well, if they can communicate at least via subspace, then we can talk on the same level. Maybe not. I don't know. The paradox that started it all.
Not.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not.
I would love to hear that. They come down, they're like, okay, we come in peace. Or maybe not.
Maybe not. But there's like one guy in the back who says it.
Yeah, or maybe
like
not.
the emissary comes out and he's like, we come in peace, and then one guy pops his head up, or maybe not.
Or maybe not. Hey, you never know. It's a big trust building exercise. Yeah. The paradox that started it all. To put it mildly, our solar system is very old. In fact, scientists are still figuring out just how old. Clues gathered from meteorites suggest it is almost 5 billion years old, and surrounding star systems are likely billions of years older. While interstellar travel still seems to be a distant dream, new technology is born every year that allows us to scan the skies for signals from civilizations in the most distant corners of the cosmos. The number of known alien worlds and star systems discovered through these technologies continues to rise, but our creative methods of listening to space have not yet revealed anything that resembles extraterrestrial communications or civilizations. My theory, they're ghosting us. We're like, do
you want to respond to that message? No, they seem a little needy.
Yeah, we got another one. Should we respond? Like, they're really trying. No, just.
I like this idea because in my mind, it's like a Tinder app for the universe. So it's like, there's like, do you want to, make contact with a new world? And they're like, swipe left. Ooh, Earth. Swipe right.
Ooh, swipe right.
Oh, God.
That's a rat if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. So given the size, no, I really like that idea, that image. Like, Proxima B, that's hot. Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, totally. No. Alpha
Earth.
Centauri, hell yeah.
Why does Earth still have a profile?
Why does Earth make the profile?
Given the size and age of our universe, it seems like we shouldn't have made contact. We, of course, have not. As far as we know, they're saying the Illuminati have. Right, Andy?
I can't really talk about it, Gary. We've been over this several times.
Hey, if we can talk about giving the Illuminati candy, like branded candy, I think we can talk about this. In the early 20th century,
Snickers for decades.
I'm pretty sure also Toblerones. I mean, they're the shape for a reason. I'm just saying.
That's true. Yeah, I think actually that's a good idea. The Illuminati should own Toblerone. And instead of like the mountain with the bear in it, it should just be the Illuminati symbol.
What if in that mountain is where their mountain Illuminati base is?
You guys keep this up. I'm going to have to send a
I'm sorry, my doorbell just rang. Let me
deal with you guys.
Yeah. We both get a ring at the doorbell at the same time. In the early 20th century, physicist Enrico Fermi asked himself a now famous question. Given the scope of our universe, we haven't found why haven't we found intelligent extraterrestrial life yet, or why haven't they found us? They have found us. They just don't like us. This is something called the Fermi paradox. I think, the Fermi paradox, or the Great Silence. The Great Silence. I like that more. Scientists have floated many possible answers in the centuries since Fermi first asked this question. Here are some of the most possible reasons why we haven't made first contact. First off, I would like to say that the human race is probably the sticky-fingered toddler of the universe, hitting themselves with plastic bats.
I can see it.
That's how the extraterrestrials see us.
We're that kid with the traffic cone on the head and running into a wall.
Oh yeah,
and all our parents say how smart we are.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, he's pretty smart. Dunk.
He's pretty smart. Dunk. He's just ignore that part.
And then he runs into it, or maybe not.
Or maybe not. That's why he put the cone on his head.
Well, at least he did it for protection.
It was a safety cone.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first part of this article actually has #GreatFilter as the title. That's great. Because
the reason they don't come
hashtags.
is because we use hashtags. They're like, let's go there.
That's what it is.
I don't know. They're using hashtags. It's kind of weird.
So what do they?
They have this thing called TikTok. Let's just keep going.
Let's just wait. Yeah, they're still calling pound signs hashtags. Yeah, let's move on. So #GreatFilter or the Great Filter. Basic probability asserts that alien life must exist. Since we haven't made contact yet, one theory goes there must be something barring life from interstellar travel, or at least barring it from communicating with other alien species. This barrier, known as the Great Filter, and it is is known as the Great Filter, and it is a force or event that stops a civilization from getting to the aforementioned point of interstellar travel or communication. If the theory holds true, there are two primary reasons that we haven't made contact. Because societies kill themselves off before they reach a state advanced enough to explore the stars or interstellar travel is simply not possible on a technological scale. Neither option is particularly pleasing. And according to the experts behind the work, the filter event is of equal or greater probability than the existence of alien life itself. This is the point argued by Robin Hansen, a research associate at the Future of Humanity associate at the Future of Humanity Institute at Oxford University. What an institute to be a part of. In his discussion of the topic, he says, no alien civilizations have sustainably or substantially colonized our solar system or systems nearby. Thus, among the billion trillion stars in our past universe, none has reached the level of technology and growth that we may soon reach. This one data point implies that a great filter stands between ordinary dead matter and advanced exploding lasting life. Since we have not been able to detect alien life or leave the solar system much for that matter, how far are we from being caught up in some event that would bar us from ever finding aliens? The easier it was for life to evolve to our stage, the bleaker our future chances probably are. Hansen writes, in other words, the more life there is in the cosmos, the greater the likeliness that we are about to reach a cataclysmic life-ending event or reach the cosmic limits of technological advancement.
God, he's such an optimist.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously.
Such an optimist. Yeah. Yeah. So his theory is for some reason, that the more life there is in the galaxy or in the universe, the more likely these civilization ending events happen, I guess. Like it's like some guarantee that an intelligent civilization is going to wipe itself out.
I mean, we've almost done it a couple times, so I guess I could see it.
We could, again, like I mentioned, I think a couple of weeks ago, we could have done it when we tested the first nuclear weapon.
Exactly.
Like we did not know that it would stop.
Right.
Like it was a 50-50 chance it would stop or it wouldn't, or maybe not.
Or maybe not.
Wasn't that a fear when they turned on the Large Hadron Collider?
Yep.
Was that it would start a black hole and pretty much wipe everybody? Or no, I don't know if it was an actual fear, but I know people were worried about it.
Yes.
You know? But most scientists were like, nah, we're good. Don't worry about it.
Particle accelerator.
Yeah, so there were actually petitions online to keep them from turning on the Large Hadron Collider because what happens when they collide these electrons together is it does create a very, very minuscule, tiny black hole because it's simulating essentially the birth of the universe. And that was the concern. It was like, oh, you're creating black holes? It's like the black holes pop in and out of existence all the time.
Right.
In space, I believe even on Earth, like they're so small and so infrequent that they dissipate. Nobody ever really notices that they're even there.
Yeah, I had like two in my backyard the other day.
You're like, oh, look at that. No, it's black hole season again.
Always happens.
Always happens. So black holes actually happen all the time. It's the big ones that we're scared of. It's the Hollywood version of a black hole that frightens us. Yeah. But again, we don't necessarily know what next test for a new technology could, like, what if we do try to test warp drive on Earth and it's our testing of warp drive that wipes us out because we're trying to leave Earth, and it's the thing that we're developing that makes us able to leave Earth that actually wipes us out. I don't know.
Possible.
I mean, what if black holes are another civilization traveling through space?
Ooh, yeah,
I mean, if you think about it, we have a understanding of what it is, but we don't have any real confirmation of what might be on the other side or anything like that. And for all we know, it is an alien spaceship, and there's something about it that is causing the effects that it is doing, and that's why it occasionally appears in different locations, because it pops into the universe. Or maybe it's another civilization that tried warp travel and failed, and they're trying to escape, and that's why they occasionally open the portal, but their failure just does not allow them to escape.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good idea. Or what if? What if their vessels are actually, they look like black holes to us?
Yeah,
and that's how they travel. That's actually a really good idea. I would also like to imagine that with the first warp drive test, you have somebody who pauses and says, "Wait, before you hit the start button, because this is going to be just a basic start button."
Well, yeah. It's a really big red button.
What does this do again? Oh, you see, it warps space and time and shoots whatever it warps around to the destination desired. Okay, so how big is the bubble? Oh, we don't really know. I can imagine the entire planet being shot across the universe.
We just moved Earth accidentally.
And now we have no sun, no star, nothing, and we just freeze.
Okay, guys, that was my bad.
That was my bad.
My bad.
My bad.
Oh, man. My bad. Can we move back? Anyway. All right, so the next theory is what this guy calls do not disturb the aliens. Another hypothesis asserts that alien civilizations certainly exist, but they're simply inactive. That's
they're sleeping.
Basically. The aestivation hypothesis. Aestivation refers to an organism's state of prolonged inactivity, similar to a bear hibernating or a frog that buries itself in sand during hot weather. So all the aliens have buried themselves in sand.
I understand what they're trying to say. It's just kind of a weird image. It's like, yeah, the aliens are burying themselves in the sand during hot weather. What's the problem here? I don't understand.
I'm just picturing them like ostriches with just standing up with their body out, but their head in the sand.
Yeah. Sorry we missed your call. Our heads were in the ground. Which was put forth by researchers from Oxford's Future of Humanity Institute and the Astronomical Observatory of Belgrade. The theory, published in a paper in the Journal of the British Interplanetary Society in 2017, states that aliens may be hibernating until the environmental conditions are just right to become active and build their super society. Okay. The researchers argue that the laws of thermodynamics directly limit computation as computing technologies need to be cooled in order to function. This is our computing technologies, might I add. This makes it exceedingly right. This makes it exceedingly difficult to create advanced technologies, as keeping them cool at scale quickly becomes prohibitively difficult. So the aliens are falling into a dormant state until the universe cools. Okay. I do not like this theory.
I don't like this theory at all. So many problems with
this theory.
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So we need... okay. First off, if you live under those kinds of conditions, then you're going to build technology that can handle those kinds of conditions.
Yeah.
Right. In the same way that we build technology on the Earth that can handle the conditions of Earth.
Well, this is once again humanity looking through the lens of humanity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? This is, obviously aliens can't build the technology they need, which would obviously be exactly like ours.
Right.
Like
exactly.
No, not necessarily.
Right. Assuming their planet has things like silicon and
exactly.
Gold.
Plus you got to keep in mind like different rotation and distance from stars, that maybe they did create something, but with the way that their planet reacts, they've kind of got those like 24-hour days for X amount of time, and then it swaps to a different one, and they've planned for one, and then Jim forgets to set up the calibrator, so they got to wait for the next cycle.
So it's like an intergalactic daylight savings time.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But distilling the development of a civilization to the kinds of conditions that our current and somewhat imperfect models can predict would be reductive. What if intelligent extraterrestrial life has found a way around the thermodynamic conditions that limit its ability to compute? Exactly. What if there are other forms of value that can be generated? The study authors write, if they're wrong about the relationships between thermodynamics and technology, the aestivation hypothesis would be moot. In this case, perhaps one of the other ideas here holds true. Yeah. So they object to that as well. In fact, that's, again, all this comes back to why haven't we made contact? I firmly believe we have, is what Dan was saying earlier. Like, what if we literally can't speak the same language? It's like, what do you mean you guys use tongues and don't bend light to communicate? Like, we don't know. I mean, it could literally be any form of communication.
Or perhaps like they look at us kind of like we look at bugs. We look at them and we go, well, I don't really care what they're saying. Like, we have not put effort into like translating different animals, and for all we know, they're just looking at us as these random animals on a planet what's the point in trying to communicate?
It's true. Yeah, they just see us rubbing our wings together.
Look, it's like they're almost building whole cities down there. No, that can't be right.
No, that can't be right. They're not smart enough. The next one is a Gaian tick bottleneck. According to the Gaian bottleneck hypothesis, life needs particular environmental conditions to develop, as far as we know. And they're not so common. Astrobiologists at the Australian National University penned their explanation to the Fermi paradox in 2016. Extinction is the cosmic default for most life that has ever emerged on the surfaces of wet, rocky planets in the universe. The researchers wrote, that's because a planet has to be actually inhabited for it to be habitable, because organisms change the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. A catch-22 emerges. No life without habitability, no habitability without life. For alien life to what's that?
I was just saying habitability.
For alien life to persist, the researchers write it must hang on like trying to ride a wild bull. Most life falls off. Life can only take place with the presence of an unlikely feedback loop. In this case, Earth is the exception to the rule. There are all kinds of statistics that basically point to the fact that the Earth naturally forming life is astronomically rare. Like it's incredibly rare. Every single detail had to line up just right for life to evolve on Earth. Not just evolve, but even exist.
Right. We are the albino planet, where it's like there are millions of things, but every now and then you get that one. Or like the blue lobster. Right. There are millions of lobsters, but one in every million has that random different pigments and is different.
Yeah.
And maybe we are just that planet.
Yeah. How sad would it be, though, to get out in the universe and realize we are actually it?
I mean, then we would start getting people going to different planets and going, all right, this is my planet. This is Planet Dan.
Planet Dan. We basically would have the run.
Bob.
Yeah.
I can't name a planet Bob. Who put you in charge, Bob?
Well, why don't you buy a planet and call it not Bob?
Yeah. I think real estate would be really cheap then, because every human being could hypothetically own their own planet. And you could pretty much do whatever you want.
The only one I can afford is the gaseous mass. Damn it.
You can't even live on the surface of that thing.
This is my summer planet. And
my summer planet. Literally, it's summer all the time.
All the time on it.
But yeah, I think it's a very sad concept, that what if life really is that rare, that we are it? Or at the very least, the other civilizations that have popped up just died off, because we're so far apart in time and space that there's no way we could have communicated.
Well, I have said this before, because I think we were talking about aliens at one point. It is a possibility. Nobody ever discusses this, at least as far as I can find, that we are the most advanced
I was actually
aliens
thinking
out
that as
there.
well.
And other aliens are like, why hasn't anybody contacted us yet? I mean, we got pointy sticks now and big rocks. What are they waiting for?
Right.
Exactly. Because we're sending radio signals.
The theory is always that there is a more advanced civilization than us.
Right.
Which, I mean,
what if there's not?
I mean, it's a very good theory. Obviously, you would think that somebody out there maybe would have come up with advanced technology to travel the stars, much like we have, but they would do it faster.
Right.
But it's possible that we just are the most technologically advanced aliens out here.
Yeah.
And other aliens are waiting for us to make contact with them.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the case, we're not really leading by a good example
yet
at the moment.
Not yet.
Not
well,
yet.
I mean, even if you, let's just say you look at the lens of popular science fiction, there's always those species that used to be at war all the time until they finally settled their differences and moved off into the stars. We could just be in the early stages.
Yeah.
Yes. Where we're realizing, like, hey, these differences.
We could be the Vulcans at some point.
It's true. Yeah. That's actually a really good theory. The opposite of that is we're late to the game and we're all that's left. Everything else has died out.
Also possible.
We're in
possible.
Or we're in the boonies of the universe, and everyone's like, you don't want to go there. You want to go to the one next to it.
We got to pass through the Milky Way, lock the doors, roll up the windows.
Exactly.
Yep. I don't even think there's a Starbucks out there. Like, let's not go there.
How funny would it be if we ever, let's say we do eventually head off into the stars, we meet other alien civilizations, and we find something that is essentially a Starbucks, and it has like almost the exact same logo and things like that?
That would be amazing. Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, they got one of these like every galaxy, honestly. They're really common.
They're everywhere. I mean, there's one that's like on the planet, and then they have one on the moon. They're like right next to each other. It's not necessary.
Yeah, like why? Like
why?
Doesn't make any sense.
There's a reason they're called
There's one
Starbucks.
every light year, pretty much.
There's one per star, essentially, throughout the universe.
One per star. Starbucks. All right.
Get it?
Yeah. The other,
or maybe not.
Another theory, or maybe not. Another theory
not,
is
guys.
to.
I mean, it's possible.
As to why we may have not made contact already, and I say may, is that life may be trapped in deep oceans. In 2015, after nearly a decade in transit, NASA's New Horizons spacecraft became the first to do a close flyby of Pluto. It offered humanity its first look at its icy surface and raised questions about the possibility of subsurface oceans of water and lots of methane and nitrogen. These questions put Pluto on a short but growing list of worlds with buried oceans trapped underneath a thick crust of ice and rock. Some of the other worlds are Saturn's moons Enceladus and Titan, as well as Jupiter's moons Europa, Callisto, and Ganymede. These oceans figure prominently in another theory of where life might be lurking, one that Alan Stern, the principal investigator for New Horizons, touches on, since buried oceans form a much more stable ecosystem than flowing surface streams. Changes such as altering tides and dissipation take place over a longer time period. A hard outer shell protects hypothetical life in the oceans from a harsh climate and a lethal mix of gases on the surface. Quote, impacts and solar flares and nearby supernovae and what orbit you're in, and whether you have a magnetosphere, and whether there's a poisonous atmosphere. None of those things matter. Any intelligent alien life that forms in these deep oceans would have to overcome a big hurdle to reach inhabitants of other worlds. Drilling through that thick protective crust, all that work would only get them to the surface. Sending signals to other planets become even more unlikely. Maybe. I mean, I would argue that it would be just as difficult. It's difficult to get off a planet, period.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
it
what
did
we
take us
consider,
a while.
It did take us
it could take us a while.
yes.
Right. It could take us a while. It'll take them a while. Even if they are trapped underneath like miles of ice, that's just their sky. Like that's their sky. That's them figuring out how do we get out of our version of an atmosphere.
Well, that's their understanding of a sky. Because if you think about it, like we went through a long period of time of not really understanding that there was space out there. Like we went through a long period of time, because actually I was going to mention this one earlier, and it's funny that it was on here because I wasn't even aware that it was a legitimate theory. But like we always look at it as life on Earth evolved in a certain way that eventually we went from water or aquatic life that eventually evolved into humans. Like that is evolution. That's that kind of thing. But we look at, like, whenever we think of other things and stuff like that, we always assume that it would go in the same direction. But what if in another place, instead of a fish evolving to get legs to grow on land, it instead evolved something else to be able to live deeper underwater? Or like there are so many different aspects where we've talked multiple times about there's always two. Like there's like almost always there's like two races kind of thing, and one eventually becomes the main one. Like we have Homo sapien and Neanderthal. And maybe on a different planet, Neanderthal was the one that became the more prevalent one. Like there are so many different branches of the evolution that maybe just on different planets, because of the different atmosphere, because of the different gravity, the different whether or not there is an ozone layer, or if there isn't. Like there are so many different factors that would change that direction. And if we did have alien life that was in deep oceans, they would then go from, because we're above water, there's sky, then there's space. For all we know, these people might go we're like in this liquid area, there's something completely different above us. They get into that, and they think that every like this like space from there is a part of that, and they don't understand that there is the difference.
Right. For them, their early concepts of space is just the ice above them.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. It's just a matter of perception. The challenges we face are difficult for us. The challenges they face will be difficult for them. Any technology we build here is designed to operate under our conditions.
Yeah.
Same for them. There's nothing saying they can't develop technology underwater because that's their living condition in the same way that we, live in an oxygen-rich atmosphere. I totally agree. I mean, it was Edwin Hubble who actually first found actual evidence of galaxies beyond our own. I mean, there was a theory for a long time that our galaxy was it, like that the Milky Way was the universe.
Right.
And he was the first one to discover, oh no, there are other galaxies much like our own. And that wasn't that long ago. I mean, that was early 20th century. So yeah, we've come a long way since then. Yeah. So, and they would have to develop. I mean, it's amazing. It's almost like the Aquaman movie, where the suits that allow them to walk on land. That's essentially what they would have to do to walk on our planet.
Right.
It's a spacesuit for them, and it's filled with water. And it's like,
yeah,
it'd be so strange to us, but that's their atmosphere. That's what keeps them alive. And
or maybe
they're
they're
looking
scared.
We should find them and blow them up.
Like maybe they're scared to come here because of that exact thing of the different atmospheres. Like they might look at these different planets and go, "What's the benefit? We may send people here and they die.
Yeah.
Then why do
what
we
if our
want
oceans?
to go there?
What if our oceans, while it's water, is like poison to them?
Yeah.
Because it's the chemical structure is a little different.
It's kind of like fresh water versus salt water. Like different animals live in different ones, but you can't just directly swap them.
Exactly. Yeah. So deep in the oceans, that's one theory as to why we haven't contacted them. Even if they are sending us signals, maybe they're not using radio signals. Maybe they're using something else that we can't even conceive of. Again,
they're communicating via smell.
Via smell, we're sending smells.
We've been sending the hello smell for decades.
The hello smell.
And nobody's responding for some reason.
They've actually been blinking in their stars in Morse code across the universe.
I don't understand why these people aren't saying anything. These humans are rude.
Oh man,
they think we're ghosting
signals.
them.
Yeah, they think we're ghosting them.
Yeah.
Like, man, they're rude. Missed signals. For the past 8 years or so, we've been listening. 80 years or so, we've been listening for signals of extraterrestrial life with radio technology. The Allen Telescope Array, situated 470 kilometers or 290 miles northeast of San Francisco, is one of the biggest since 2007. 42 dishes have stood at the ready to scan the skies regularly in the hope of receiving radio signals from extraterrestrial life. But what if extraterrestrial life doesn't operate on those frequencies? Haha. Attempts at contact could simply be passing us by simply because we don't comprehend the right wavelengths. Instead of using telescope arrays and scanning the skies for radio signals, which I have always thought is a strange idea, like of all things,
Right.
Duncan Forgan at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland suggests creating a galactic communications network. I'm on board with that. The same way we blink our high beams to send a signal to other drivers, we could use the shadow that Earth creates when it passes in front of the sun. Thank you, Dan.
Hey!
To send a mess. I think Dan just has an obsession with our sun.
Apparently, I think these things that other people have thought of without knowing, because we
to send a
tried Morse
message to our
code
fellow-
with our Earth.
To send a message to our fellow inhabitants of the universe. Forgan suggests that we build powerful lasers that contain those encoded messages, which are sent out as we pass in front of the sun. Interesting.
Very interesting.
I was thinking you would shoot a powerful laser at the sun, which let's just blink the sun out in like increments.
I feel like that would be a bad idea. Gary.
Maybe a bad idea. Yeah, it'll come back.
Hopefully,
or
maybe not.
Or maybe not. We're almost
Or
certain
maybe
it's
not.
one or the other.
I'm certain. If you want to quote, he says this in quote, if you want to communicate with someone on the other side of the galactic center, there's lots of stuff in the way. Dust, stars, a big black hole. So you can take the long way around using the network, Forgan tells New Scientist, rather than letting intergalactic messages get lost in the vastness of space. Civilizations in different galaxies could agree to use this galactic communications network to ensure their messages get to their intended recipients, a unified system to cut through the chatter. I think that's a solid concept, actually. I think that's a great idea.
A galactic communications system?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, okay, so like sending out just radio signals, hoping somebody hears it, is like pushing random numbers on your phone and hoping to get an actual phone number.
Right.
Correct, yes.
You know, just repeatedly. Like, why is nobody answering my call? I'm just sitting here hitting random numbers. Yeah, it's basically that equivalent. Now, if you're much more intentional about it, and if you're doing something that any civilization could see as strange or odd, yeah. But again, Dan, like I think it's a great idea to do something that's maybe a little more visual. Mm-hmm. You know, something that like. But again, there are also theories that aliens don't see the same way we do. Right. So you know, all kinds of roadblocks here.
Have we? So regarding like the radio waves, have we like recorded like this is a hard one. Have we sent radio signals to say one of our satellites that has traveled a long distance in space and then tried to see what it sounds like? Like, have we proven that radio waves can travel through space without being transformed in some manner?
Yes, because we've communicated with Voyager 2. The space probe that has actually left our solar system. We're still receiving information, and that information is sent through radio waves.
But like,
and it's like cohesive, coherent information. It's actually like telling us, you know,
okay.
Yeah.
So we have
we've proven that it can work.
It can travel through, because I haven't seen it in a lot of the ones that we have gone through.
Right.
So, okay, if that has been proven, then this stuff makes a little more sense for the plausibility. Because if we didn't even have proof that the radio waves could travel through space in the same way it does on Earth, the scanning for radio waves would be completely pointless because they would be so much different.
There.
Like,
or maybe not.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not.
Okay. I wasn't aware that we did use radio waves for that kind of transmission.
Now, the only problem with radio waves is that because radio waves travel at the speed of light, let's say we're trying to communicate with Proxima B, which is, I think, like 4 light years away. Mm-hmm. It's going to take 4 years for anything to reach Proxima B. Right. Assuming something is even there to receive it and send it back, that's another 4 years. That's 8 years or maybe more between a hello and then another hello.
Right.
That is on a galactic scale a snail's pace. I mean, that is snail mail in its worst form. That's like snail mail that got lost in Belgrade. You know, it's
space snail.
Space mail. Yeah. So yeah, it's painfully slow, the methods we are currently using to reach out into space. And we're really only using one method, which is kind of silly. You know, again, it's like writing random addresses, sending it out, and then hoping that the addresses are real.
Right.
And that, yeah. So, all right. So another theory is that we are just being impatient. We've only been actively reaching out for alien life for about a century, a mere blip in the long history of the solar system and of the universe overall. Even Solomonides, an astrophysicist and astrophysics and mathematics undergrad and researcher. Okay, there's some typos here. At Cornell University suggests that it could take a while, about 1,500 years from now to be precise, before we hear from any extraterrestrials. They get our message with like return to sender and stickers and like stamps all over it. Like, oh, we just got it late.
Oh, Lord. Someone got lost at the Galactic Post Office.
In a paper submitted to the American Astronomical Society, Solomonides examines the probability of finding life. Quote, we predict that under 1% of the galaxy has been reached at all thus far, and we do not anticipate to be reached until approximately half of the stars or planets have been reached. Sulimanides believes that we will have explored around half of the Milky Way galaxy before we hear anything, which will take a while since we've barely explored our own galactic neighborhood. We haven't even become an interplanetary species, for crying out loud. Sulimanides is careful to note... At this point, yes, I actually would say we are. I mean, Mars is literally right there. Like, you can go out at night and see Mars with the naked eye. It's a little red dot. It's just like if you're talking about communicating with species on an intergalactic or even just stellar level, that's pretty sad. Like, you can't even get to the rock next door. Like, what is your problem?
Well, yeah, but there's space crabs and Martian scorpions.
Well, I think your biggest gripe, Andy, is we haven't nuked it yet. So
that's what I'm saying. It's pissing me off.
Sulimanides is careful to note that the 1500 years is not a deadline. This is not to say that we must.
He said it.
This is not to
1500 years.
Is not to say that we must be reached by then, or else we are in fact alone. We simply claim that it is somewhat unlikely that we will not hear anything before that time. That is that list. So now there's some other theories as to where aliens come from, or what's that?
Before we swap theories, if I can mention something on this one.
Yeah.
So we always look at these as like we think about alien life and how they move and advance at different pace than us. That's very commonly the thought process. Why are we so convinced that it's going to happen in our future? Because if they evolved at a much higher pace than we did, and let's say in the cosmos there is a galactic empire that keeps track of all the planets and stuff like that, who's to say they didn't come here before life? Who's to say they didn't come to Earth when it was just a desolate wasteland, and their thought was, it's completely empty. Let's
they were
just
basically
move
here
on.
early, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Like, they got here early, and in the galactic records, Earth is known for just being a ball of dirt.
A ball of dirt. Yeah, no, it's actually a really good theory. Like, they checked it off the list. Like, hey, we checked out that planet. There's nothing there.
Because let's be honest, if the universe is as big as we say, I highly doubt they have multiple people going, you know what, we should check the entire universe again. Like, they probably just go there once through, and they're like, you know what, that took roughly 6,000 years for us to get that one. Let's just call it good. Let's just see if that's what it is. And maybe that's the reason why we've never experienced the contact, because they did it in the past.
They've already done it, and we weren't there.
And we just weren't here. We weren't.
Yeah.
It's
it's a great idea.
They called us, and we weren't able to pick up the phone, and so they assumed that they called the wrong number. I mean,
like we tried to hit the phone with a rock at the time.
I mean, like, it's exactly like your idea of
there's noises coming out of it.
The idea of, like, us writing a random address and sending the letter, and whether or not it's real or not, like that. That letter with that address could be a house when that area finally gets built. Like, maybe there will be a house at that address in the future. It just doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, but for now, we got to return to sender, like, incorrect address.
And if you got that, you wouldn't go, you know what, in a couple years, I'm going to send something to that address again. And maybe it is there this time.
I mean, I would, but I'm weird that way.
So it's almost like a door-to-door salesman knocking on a bunch of doors before anybody's moved into the neighborhood.
Exactly.
You know, it's such a new development. Nobody's moved in yet, but he's trying to, like, make contact, and there's nobody there.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's no signs that would imply that anyone would be moving in anytime soon. So they're just like, you know what, this has got to be just a ghost town. I'll move on to the next one.
Right. No, I think that's a great theory. Yeah, they were so far advanced than us because the universe is significantly older than our solar system.
Yeah.
Like, if you follow evolution, we evolved here quite possibly very late in in terms of the actual age of the universe. And so other planets could have evolved, explored the solar system, explored the universe, and then died off long before we even like started hitting phones with rocks. And so,
hitting phones with rocks. Love it.
Yeah. So that's a great theory, Dan. I really like that.
Good theory, Dan. Good theory.
So another theory is maybe extraterrestrials have visited us, but they know us so well, they actually have intentionally left them kind of the whole situation in the dark for us. One theory is that extraterrestrials are us from the future, that they are us so far evolved that they've actually managed to time travel, and they know how to manage time travel. They're not messing up the timeline so that they can study us in the past. Because there are some I guess evolutionary scientists, biologists, who are suggesting that as humans evolve, our eyes are getting bigger, our mouths are actually getting smaller, we're starting to lose hair. So we are actually, believe it or not, slowly transforming into this classic image of an extraterrestrial. Yeah. Now give that a million years, and we very well could be so far advanced and have evolved to look like that. And now we are going back in time to study ourselves. That's one theory.
I mean, maybe aliens are gray because they were in a much longer quarantine than us, and they just lost all pigment.
That's what it is.
It's true.
This is us slowly turning into.
That's how we turn into the grays. Coronavirus is what did it.
Yes, and our fear of the murder hornets.
Those things are terrifying.
They are pretty terrifying.
Another theory, okay, because we're going to wrap this up here soon. I found this website called, what is it called? The Aetherius Society, UFOs, aliens, and their spiritual message. And down here, if you go down a little bit,
can we talk about what the tagline for the website is? The Aetherius Society, cooperating with the gods from space.
Oh yes, that's lovely. Yes, because that's how we want to approach it.
Yeah.
We want to treat extraterrestrials not like they're equals, but like they're gods.
Well, this also makes it sound like this website is co-made by them. Like, yep, we've been working with them for a couple months now. Got a nice website. Yep. Also a Facebook page.
They sent some of their coders. Down, and fixed our code.
They sent us Mark Zuckerberg, and they are monitoring us through Facebook. And they're like, oh my God, these people are idiots. They're poking each other thinking it means something.
Exactly. They've taken something from middle school that they thought was funny in middle school and have now made it a part of their website.
Yeah.
So this is basically like, this website is like a guide to communicating with extraterrestrials. How can you identify a UFO? And then I really actually like the theory that goes a little further down.
I'm just going to say right now, that is a huge oxymoron. Identifying a UFO, which stands for an unidentified flying object.
Yep. So what is that? Well, it's a UFO. Okay, but what is it? It's a UFO. Like I've identified that it is a UFO.
I've identified that what it is.
We identified that it is an unidentifiable flying object. I don't see the problem.
So alien life in our solar system. This actually suggests that alien life exists in our solar system at higher levels of vibration. So everything in existence vibrates at a certain frequency. And this suggests that extraterrestrials are actually essentially live right alongside us, but they exist at a slightly higher frequency, which I think is a really great concept.
What if
threat creation? What's that?
What if they are what causes the Mandela effect? They live in a slightly different universe, and that's why occasionally we get those little blips.
So when they come over, they disrupt it.
Exactly. And they've tried multiple times, and possibility.
I can imagine like one of their kind of. I can imagine one of their like not interstellar, but like interdimensional, intervibration astronauts coming back and saying, "So, there's so many naughty words that I feel like I have to use." so, so I entered their dimension, and when I came back, I realized that I had accidentally changed Star Wars. So they have to keep track of the changes they've made.
Oh no! Disney brought him out in this alternate reality.
That's
our bad. That's our bad.
What have you done?
Oh, goodness.
Also, the humans are catching on that the original line was, in fact, Luke, I am your father, and not.
Like, that would
Love
be his
it.
first thing. He comes back. He's like, all right, I just real quick. What is the line from Star Wars? They're like, Luke, I am your father. Damn it.
I was like, okay. I changed something again.
Changed it again.
Higher levels of vibration. Throughout creation, life can exist on different levels of vibration. So while NASA may be searching for extraterrestrial life as we know it on the planet Mars, they're looking on the same level of vibration as we exist on Earth today, the physical plane. If NASA were able to travel to the higher levels of vibration on Mars, they would find a planet full of advanced life. Maybe. This is actually claiming like it's already there.
Sure.
A master of yoga could consciously leave their body and project to another planet.
Yeah.
Why we're not hearing about this more, I don't know. If they did this and traveled to Mars, they would be able to see the advanced life there. This higher plane of existence is still physical, but is a higher form of physicality than our physical sense or our science can currently detect. Life on other planets in our solar system may not only exist, but is intelligent and highly advanced, far more advanced than life on Earth. The most advanced planet in our solar system is Saturn. On this planet, the most evolved intelligences are known as the Perfects. Like other civilizations throughout the solar system, they live on higher planes of existence than we do. The Perfects are responsible for the evolution and enlightenment of life throughout the solar system. So the claim here is that intelligent life is replete in our solar system, but they're essentially invisible.
Interesting.
We are their ghosts.
So if I drink enough caffeine
Yes.
to alter my vibration,
gotta
Yeah.
drink 100 cups of coffee.
if I drink 100 cups of coffee,
Yep.
I'll be able to
Ghosts.
see them.
Yes,
That's
you
how
would
I'm
be able to see
understanding
them.
this.
Or if you just sit there and like vibrate really fast.
Or maybe
Hold on. I'm gonna work on it.
hallucinogens are actually the gateway to these other dimensions.
right.
And that's why they're
Which is-
seeing all these crazy things.
Yeah. Which, Dan, is actually a theory. There's a theory that hallucinogenics alter our brain chemistry in a way that it can function on a higher plane of existence. And that people aren't hallucinating, they're actually at a higher level of consciousness. So what I find interesting here is that the writer of this article, the author of this website, actually claims these things like they're fact.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I find fascinating. That where was it? The most advanced planet in our solar system is Saturn. So the Perfects live on Saturn. I don't know. What do you think?
No, it's Jupiter that's the gaseous one. Saturn's not.
Both Saturn and Jupiter are gaseous.
They are both
yes.
gaseous.
Sometimes
Okay.
get gaseous.
Yes, they're gaseous.
May- Oh, okay. I could see the theory that potentially it is
Right.
actually a solid planet, but the way we perceive it is gaseous because it is moving so quickly. But because it is in relation to the people there, slightly more solid or still, we see it as gas.
Right.
But to them, it's an actual planet.
Maybe. Yeah, who knows? And so that's the idea, is that basically what we're talking about here is just parallel universes, like parallel worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Really. I mean, if you're operating at a different frequency, then you don't exist on the same plane that our frequency does. So this is essentially parallel universes. There's a line, I can imagine us vibrating at a higher frequency and visiting these other civilizations like the Perfects in our own solar system, if they're actually there. Who knows? I haven't seen them myself, so I can't say that they're not. There's a line in the Orville, you might remember it, where they go to Alara's planet, and the pilot basically says, like, yeah, it's amazing. Like, I'm trash. I'm such trash, because he's comparing himself to this civilization. And I can imagine us as humans, just in general as humans, finally seeing the perfects in these other advanced civilizations and basically telling ourselves, like, we're trash. We're such trash.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, man. Yeah, so this website is full of really fascinating concepts. But I really like that idea, actually, that alien life is right here. It's just not at the same frequency that we are.
Yeah.
So maybe they're visiting us on our frequency and then leaving, but they're still here, just invisible.
I like that theory.
And that is why we have not made contact, because we literally don't speak on the same frequency.
So I saw my guy. I was like, oh, hey, you just popped in? Okay, I'll see you next time.
Yeah, okay. I'll see you next time. Yeah. But you'd be blinded by his amazing light because he exists at a higher frequency. I don't know. Yeah, any thoughts before we go? That actually filled up the hour pretty well.
Yeah. No, I liked a lot of these theories, and I find it funny that every time I think of a theory and think, I'm like, oh, this could be interesting. Most of them, you're like, oh, this is already a thing. The only theory I've ever come up with so far that does not seem to be a thing is in the past is when they showed up. Because it sounds like that is one that we've never seen.
Yeah, and nobody can disprove it either.
Yeah.
I think I've seen anything.
I came up with another theory with my brother a couple days ago, actually, that what if, hang with me here, what if the Earth, like aliens, extraterrestrials, are actually us, and the Earth was a prison colony hundreds of thousands of years ago? They sent their worst people to the planet Earth to fend for themselves, left them with nothing.
I mean...
So we're basically Australia.
I've met other humans, and so I could definitely see them being prisoners from the galaxy.
Exactly. Like that's,
and just some of us are a little bit more reformed than that.
Exactly. And what if these people that we think like, oh, they're brilliant, they think on this higher level, are actually their representatives coming to check on us.
Right.
Like, how's
They're
that
the
prison colony? Oh, it's fine. I think we should keep ghosting them a little longer,
Yeah,
make sure
maybe not go check them out right away. Just
we just simply forgot that we're aliens. I like that theory. I like it.
I mean, yeah, you send these prisoners, down to this planet. It's a rich planet, It's obviously they can survive there, but you send them down there with nothing, and they got to fend for themselves. Eventually, they're going to forget their history. I mean, give it enough time.
And then the aliens show up, and they're like, "They're still not reforming. Send the murder hornets."
Send the murder hornets. Oh man! And now we're just waiting for to appeal our case, I guess. With our
oh goodness.
Yeah. So those are some of the theories as to why we have not made contact yet. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Maybe you have a theory that you also haven't heard anywhere else. If so, we would love to hear what that is. Dan, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DanTProducer, or on Twitch at Silu91, CYLOO 91.
And on Tinder at DanTLover.
On Tinder at
or Silu69, your choice.
Or the London Hammer. We keep forgetting about the London Hammer.
All right, that's my new favorite one. On Tinder at Silu69.
XXX.
420 blazing.
Andy, where can they find you? I would look down at you, Andy, but the way Dylan edits it for YouTube is like totally different from what I'm seeing right now. So
that's fair. I can just kind of look up like this. Well, Gary.
Wrong direction, but yeah.
Oh, is it? Damn,
you're just looking off screen.
Well, because I'm actually on Discord. So on Discord, it's like that. I forget it's the other way. It is. On Twitch. That's why. You can find me at for I am the Andy on Instagram, and that's it.
And that's it. Thank you.
Sorry.
You can find me on YouTube at Film Circuit, and Twitter at Film Circuit, and Instagram at Northward Films. Thank you for watching this episode. We will figure out something else for next week, but who knows?
And
I'm also starting a Kickstarter to nuke Mars. So
And don't forget, this episode is sponsored by G Fuel, where if you
Yes.
want to save 10% off your order, use the code COMICS at checkout.
Thank you.
Glorpia next time.
Glorp, everybody. I love the
Go glorp
Illuminati.
yourselves.
Catchphrases.